If we had to do it all over again, that there would have been a whole lot more questions that were asked in terms of how this thing is working.
Sebelius was an early supporter of President Obama. The twice-elected red state governor of Kansas was among the first prominent women to endorse Obama in 2008 over Hillary Clinton. On the short list to be vice president, Sebelius was instead nominated to be HHS secretary.
I'm humbled, honored.
And now the president turns to someone with more management experience, his budget chief, Sylvia Matthews Burwell. A Harvard-educated 48-year-old mother of two, Burwell has both public and private sector experience, including serving as president of two large foundations for Walmart and Bill Gates. Now, Burwell's confirmation is virtually assured in the Democratic-controlled Senate, but what the White House wants is more than a confirmation. They are banking on her management skills to reduce the law's vulnerability to political attacks in this election year.
Two journalists who work with whistleblower Edward Snowden to reveal the extent of U.S. government surveillance were honored in New York yesterday. Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras of The Guardian were on American soil for the first time since the story broke last year. There had been fears they could be arrested upon arrival, but that didn't happen. They made their way to a hotel in Manhattan to receive the George Polk Award for National Security Reporting. The journalists praised the former National Security Agency contractor for being their source and revealing what happened. Snowden is wanted in the U.S., but was granted temporary asylum by Russia. Greenwald also had some tough words for U.S. President Barack Obama.
President Obama likes to parade around as some sort of, King Solomon figure in between the excesses of the NSA and those who are raising concern about it and trying to balance it and come up with some reasonable centrist approach. I mean, that's generally his political brand. The reality is that he's presided over this out-of-control system for 5 years and has never expressed a single inclination to rein it in any way. So the fact that he's continuing it for as long as he can, I think is the opposite of surprising. I mean, he is an advocate of this system over which he presided for so many years. I mean, I think he's one of the obstacles to reform, not a vehicle for it.
Violent clashes rocked Brazil when police began kicking squatters out of an abandoned building in Rio de Janeiro. Authorities are trying to beef up security ahead of the World Cup football tournament later this year and the 2016 Olympic Games. 1,500 police dressed in riot gear used tear gas, stun grenades, and pepper spray to evict nearly 5,000 people. A Brazilian court ordered the eviction, moving families out of the buildings and a parking lot owned by a telecommunications company. Residents fought back by throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails, as well as setting buildings, buses, and vehicles on fire. The mass eviction ended with many injuries, including children and police. More than 20 people were arrested.
Locally, again, supporters of a 12Apr preschool that got kicked out of its campus are crying foul. Meanwhile, the government has called on the school authorities to consider setting up a new campus in a commercial building. Evelina Long reports.
The parents of students attending Top Kids International Preschool, as well as teachers and their supporters, staged a protest outside the Cheung Kong Center in Central today. They demanded that their school be allowed to continue operating. The kindergarten is being pushed out of its campus by a more expensive kindergarten. Cheung Kong Holdings has a stake in the company that owns the land. The school's headmistress, Carol Chan, said they have already informed the government of their situation. Secretary for Education Eddie Ng said the government has already suggested the preschool sets up a new campus inside a commercial building. He added the administration rarely interferes with the operation of private institutions. Speaking to TVB News today, Professor Gail Yoon said the only way to solve this is to implement 15 years of free education in Hong Kong. But changes won't happen overnight.
I think it takes a transition period to do it if the government chooses to do 15-year free education. As I said earlier, we need long-term planning, including allocating land, for kindergarten operation.
She hopes the government would take public as well as private kindergartens into consideration while implementing free preschool education in Hong Kong. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
A motorcyclist was killed in a traffic accident in Tai Po this morning. And as Vicky Kung reports, the vehicle was reported stolen earlier and carried a fake license plate.
Police were at the scene to investigate the early morning crash. Officers say the accident happened at around 5 a.m. A motorcycle driven by a 39-year-old man was traveling along Fanling Highway towards Shengshui when the vehicle went out of control near Kowloon Han. It crashed into the road divider. The motorcyclist suffered serious injuries and was rushed to North District Hospital, where he was declared dead. Kan Kwok Ming of the New Territories North Special Investigation Team says the motorcycle was reported stolen back in February and that the victim's driving license was suspended at the time of the accident. Kang also said the vehicle had a license plate that was different from the one registered. Police are following up on the case. Vicky Kong, TVB News.
Police have seized 1.44 kilos of crack cocaine with a street value of $2.2 million. 2 people were arrested. Both suspects are 24 years old. Acting on a tip-off, police questioned the pair in Yuen Long last night. Officers say one of the men had in possession a small amount of crack cocaine. Authorities then searched a flat nearby and found more drugs. They also seized equipment that they say was used to produce the drugs. Police believe the suspects belonged to a syndicate that had been running for about 2 months in New Territories West. All right, Chris, what do you have for us in sports today?
Some golf. It's a big weekend, right?
Yep.
First Masters, second day of the Masters. I'll get this right eventually. American Bubba Watson is halfway to his second green jacket. The 2012 Masters champion leads by 3 shots at Augusta after 2 rounds. And here's Jameson Wong with the highlights.